We begin tonight with breaking news out of the Holyoke Soldiers Home investigation. Good Wednesday evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordyn Jagalinzer. The Board of Trustees for the Holyoke Soldiers Home is meeting virtually as we speak. The group formally convening for the first time since criminal charges were filed against Superintendent Bennett Walsh and former medical director David Clinton.
Those charges in response to the 76 veteran residents who died after testing positive for COVID-19. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo joins us now live from the home with more. Audrey?
So far, the Board of Trustees meeting has largely focused on the upcoming renovation plans for the home. The Board of Trustees did make it clear, however, that the only place they're willing to discuss in any depth Bennett Walsh's employment status is in executive session. The Board of Trustees is faced not only with criminal charges against Superintendent Bennett Walsh, but also the fact that his termination from the home was ruled invalid by a judge recently. The decision from Hamden Superior Court, state health officials did not have authority under the law to fire Walsh. It states that only the Board of Trustees has that power. So with Walsh's employment status weighing on the board tonight, they plan to go into executive session at the end of the meeting. However, they did address it with the public.
And you're actually listening to hope around that we may say something about other matters that may have made their way into the news or the courtrooms of Western Massachusetts. Unfortunately, you're to be disappointed.
Now, the bulk of the public meeting involved the renovation of the home. Reps from the design firm Payette gave an update on their work. They say the 12-week rapid planning deadline concludes in early November, and reps reiterated that their biggest funding deadline is in April. They say so far the most important part of their planning has been listening to input from the community.
We did meet with some residents in the home. We did meet with family members. We met with some employees. We met with many legislators. We've met with a coalition.
This all comes as a refresh project on the home has been completed. Now, when it comes to the criminal charges against Bennett Walsh and former medical director David Clinton, we checked in with court officials to see if their arraignments have been scheduled. They're set to be held in Hamden Superior Court, but officials tell us that they have not set a date yet. Reporting live in Holyoke, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thank you for that live report. An internal investigation into Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno's Director of Constituent Services results in a large gathering on the steps of City Hall.
The group addressing social media allegations. Western Mass News reporter Lindsay Kane is live in Springfield with the details. Lindsay?
Chris and Jordyn, supporters of Darryl Moss packed the steps of City Hall, hoping to send a clear message to the community. In a powerful and an emotional event, speakers spoke about Moss, who has been an aide to Mayor Sarno for 12 years. Moss is under fire for an alleged post he made to a social media account, prompting a city investigation. But speakers say Moss's post was in reference to a TV show he was watching with a friend. The director of the Springfield Boys and Girls Club says he thinks it's important to step up today in support of Moss.
I have not once seen Darryl Moss call anyone out of their name, but he still continues to be vilified. He has worked in this office for 12 years, defended the police department, defended his office, this mayor, this city, and is still vilified.
Speakers such as City Councilor Tracy Whitfield and Bishop Talbert Swan highlighted racial injustices in the city, saying there are far more problems than Moss's social media. We did reach out to Mayor Sarno for a comment, but are still waiting to hear back. Live in Springfield, Lindsay Kane, Western Mass News.
Lindsay, thanks for that live report. Turning to campaign 2020 now, mixed reactions following a chaotic first presidential debate last night between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. Following last night's event, the nonpartisan Presidential Debate Commission says it is considering changes to the structure of future matchups. A professor of history and government at American International College says he agrees with the suggestion of cutting mics to avoid interruptions. Some are calling for the debates to be canceled, and we asked whether or not there's ever been precedent for doing so.
There hasn't been, but we are in unprecedented times. I don't think Biden will decline to do the debates because, first of all, it will say that he was like running away.
This man is talking about
The next debate is scheduled for Wednesday, October 7th. It will feature the vice presidential matchup between incumbent Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris.
We asked you, our Western Mass News viewers, who you thought won last night's debate. The answer, which you can find on our website, westernmassnews.com, is former Vice President Biden, getting nearly 42% of your vote. President Trump has a little more than 32%. More than 20% said neither candidate won, and 5.5% said they didn't watch. 2 Saturdays from now, early voting will open in the state of Massachusetts for the general election in November. With coronavirus precautions tested for the primaries, how are communities preparing for even bigger crowds this upcoming election?
Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis is live outside Holyoke City Hall to see how the city is getting ready for voters to come to the polls. Leon?
Jordyn, Chris, although there is a big push for mail-in voting for this November election, the city of Holyoke is trying to ensure folks can vote in person both safely and smoothly. And on October 17th, Holyoke voters can come here to City Hall to cast their ballots. Early voting and voting on Election Day will be a little different this year, with coronavirus still a concern, as the city of Holyoke plans to have poll workers wiping down areas in between each voter.
We did just get a huge shipment from the state of all PPE, masks, hand sanitizer, wipes.
In Massachusetts, early voting begins on Saturday, October 17th. Folks in Holyoke can go to the Holyoke City Hall to cast their ballots. City Clerk Brendan Murphy-McGee tells Western Mass News early voting is the way to go if you're trying to avoid the long lines.
I would say if you don't want to risk waiting in line on Election Day, coming to City Hall during those 14 days at your convenience is probably the way to go.
Despite anticipating waiting in line longer than usual, one Holyoke voter is prepared. He plans to hit the polls on Election Day, November 3rd.
No, there's never a guarantee. It never has been. I mean, I waited in line years ago for an hour. So just a matter of time.
Murphy-McGee says she has staffers ready to go for Election Day, but if you choose to go to the polls on Election Day instead of early voting, expect a wait. She says typically on Election Day they have about 10 voting booths at each precinct, but in a COVID-19 world, they plan to have 4 or 5 per location.
I think if people go to the polls to vote, people might have to expect to have to wait in line, and that line could be outside the building, just for us to try to prevent too much crowding going on in the polling locations.
Again, early voting in the Bay State starts Saturday, October 17th, and goes through October 30th. Live in Holyoke, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Leon, thank you for that live report. Signs and sightings of fall are becoming more and more apparent all across the area.
Even if the weather lately hasn't felt very fall-like, seasonal temperatures are on the way. For more on what we can expect this week, let's turn things over to First Warning meteorologist Jana Brown. Hey, Jana.
Hey, guys. Yeah, we got some much-needed rain last night, and it kind of broke up the heat and humidity as well. And now we're already back to fall-like conditions, but we needed this soaking rain for sure, so the high humidity really helped us out. It was a gully washer in Pittsfield. 4.5 inches of rain fell from last night through early this morning. A little bit less for the Pioneer Valley, but almost everyone picking up between 1 and 2 inches of rain. There was also some spotty wind damage out there today. I know my gazebo took a beating, but there were some areas that dealt with, these have actually been taken down already, but some spotty tree damage, some isolated power outages, but overall we fared pretty well. The wind was a lot worse farther out toward the coast. Right now it is gorgeous. Six Flags Skycam showing that crystal clear blue sky. We're at 67 degrees with a dew point in the mid 40s, and it's still breezy too. So if you're going to do some dining outdoors, have the sweatshirt ready to go. You're going to be needing it for tonight too. 60s for the valley, starting to see a few spotty upper 50s already in the hill towns. Very dry air mass in place tonight and tomorrow. Now, the only reason we're not going to dip way down temperature wise tonight is because we do have a breeze that'll continue. We also have clear skies, which will also keep overnight. But because of that lingering breeze, we'll definitely cool off back into the 50s by midnight, and then by tomorrow morning, possibly some upper 40s. It'll be kind of not a mild and muggy start. We'll have some patchy clouds, maybe a little bit of fog, a cool and crisp start, and it's a perfect golf day. A lighter breeze tomorrow, good sunshine, and lower 70s for the afternoon. We'll take a look at your weekend forecast in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Janet, thanks. Now to new developments out of Springfield. Officials telling Western Mass News that an arrest has been made in connection to a late August car fire. Police say that on August 20th, 37-year-old LaShawanda Naylor struck the victim over the head with a liquor bottle, then poured oil inside the car and threw firecrackers in the back seat before driving away, effectively igniting that vehicle. She faces 1 charge for burning a motor vehicle and 2 charges of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon.
The attorneys for Stuart Weldon are in the process of filing a motion of examination of Weldon's mental health. During today's status hearing, they asked for 2 weeks to allow for financial negotiations with their mental health expert. Weldon's accused of killing 3 women whose bodies were found at his Springfield home 2 years ago. A grand jury indicted him on murder, kidnapping, and rape charges. Weldon's trial was scheduled to begin last April, but was postponed due to the pandemic. His next hearing is scheduled for October 19th via Zoom. Due to the mental health aspect of this case, Weldon will appear virtually.
The Belchertown Police Department has received a grant for over $450,000 from the Department of Justice's Office on Violence Against Women. Officials say the funds will improve the town's response to incidents of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. The funding will also allow Belchertown and Northampton to share a victim advocate to provide direct services to victims, as well as fund police training in areas of sexual violence against vulnerable populations.